So continuing our saga of working on this Valkyrie, we're going to be applying some decals today. So I got a few tools here. You might have seen these in my how to do decals video. These are Tamiya Decal Scissors. These things are a lifesaver. Very narrow bladed tip scissors. I'm sure you could use any kind of narrow bladed tip scissor that you could find, but I paid an exorbitant amount of money for these, and so I'm going to use them. Good pair of tweezers. I like these because they've got the bevel on them. They're not to a straight point, so it gives me kind of a longer surface area to grab with if I need it. And also there's the point there at the end if I need something sharp. And they will stab the shit out of you. Trust me, I know. X-Acto knife, in case we need it. With the decal scissors, so usually you can cut with the decal scissors because these are going to be some tiny decals we're working with today. But you can use an X-Acto knife to cut these out with. I'm just bougie and I like scissors better. But this is old school and it still works. Our micro set and micro saw for doing decals, making them stick a lot better and not lift up. Not necessary once again, but highly recommended. And once you start using this, you won't go back to just doing water for your decals again because this stuff just works. And motivation, which I'm out of, but we're gonna fake it. All right, so your decals pretty much kind of start where you want. Some people start from the inside of the model. Some people start from the outside. Some people start from one side, work right to left. Some people work left to right. I go from the whatever I feel like putting on next school of thought. So we're going to start with some easy spots. We're going to put the little RDF/UN spacey symbols on the wing tips of the Valkyrie here. So I'm going to cut. We're going to work quick, so we're going to cut 2 of these out at once. And then just be careful. Cut around them. We cut as close to the decal as we can. Like this one follows the edge around. That was lucky cut. And we just toss this in our little bit of water that we got here. Anybody who watched my decal video knows that I have a bougie decal container, but when I'm just doing real tiny decals, I just use a mixing cup for it. Keeps it from going anywhere, and if you can't fish that out, then you probably shouldn't be working on a model. So while that's soaking, we're going to take some of our handy micro set and brush that on the approximate areas of the wings that we want our thing. So grab a brush of your choice. And we just roll some of that on there. And you'll know from the earlier part of my video, I gloss coated this fella. All right, so now we do the gloss coat. So you'll notice that the decal set kind of beads up a little bit, like a wax coat, and that's what it's supposed to do, because that means your gloss is doing what it's supposed to do. And this is just here to sit on the surface to soften that decal up and make it go into these curves a little bit better. So now that we've applied that, now we wait a little longer and then we test our decals. And we'll spin this around. So I got this orientated the right way. Okay, and just tap your decal in the water, see if it's moving. It is not released from the decal paper yet. Now our decals, they're able to, oop, dropped them. Our decals are just to the point where they slide around on this, just a hair. We're gonna take and apply, if we can. I'm gonna have to cut these in half. All right. And so what you'll have sometimes is decals that have fused together on the sheet where they weren't done individually. But that's okay, because we can make that happen anyway. Decal 1. And don't be afraid of this process. The worst that happens is you mess up. And then you gotta do it again. All right. So now we got our decals roughly where we want them. So now we use our brush with some microset on it to get them exactly positioned where we like. So these wings are swept back for this particular transformation sequence. So you don't want to put the decals straight forward because then it'd look kind of silly orientation wise. I mean, you can do whatever the hell you want, but I'm going to put them like they would be if the wings were actually straight out for flight mode. So we're going to angle them just a hair. We get a little more microset, dab it on here, just to make sure our positioning is correct. Okay. And now we grab a little piece of paper towel, which I should have gone over in my thing. We dab any excess water off, and then, come on camera. We gotta glare off these lights a little bit. There we go. So now you can see our decals are applied to the wings, and we just let that sit for a little while. So, and while we're letting that sit, we start to work on our next one. So I like to move away from the area that I just applied decals to. So now we're gonna go to the gun on this guy. If anybody ever watched Robotech or played any of the role-playing games, you know they like to put the name of the space agency on the side of the gun, which is, I know you can't see it on the sheet, but it says UN Spacey on these white. There's a whole load of these decals. So we're just gonna cut one out of here. And they give us two colors. They give us black ones and white ones. We obviously want to use the white one because the black one's not going to show up on the black gun. So I got that logo cut out here. And it's going to go in the water. Take our microset. And I'm just dipping right out of the bottle. And I spread some of that on the old side of the pistola. Excuse me, the gun pod. And we wait a little bit. A lot of waiting with this. This teaches us patience. So once again, we've got our little decal, getting ready to slide it off onto the gun. Okay. A little bit of more microset. So you can see that on there. We'll take our paper towel. Dab, dab, dab. Dab, dab, dab. So voila. UN Spacey on the gun. And if we want to stay true to form, we'll put another one here on the other side, which I'm going to do. Okay. Second decal. I'm going to lay this down and then hopefully not f it up. I'm glad I got a good editing team to cut out my cussing. We're putting it on a spherical surface and it's a flat decal. So the good thing is the microset helps kind of soften this decal, so it'll stick down to this spherical surface a little bit easier. And ideally, won't peel up. Ideally. Come on. There we go. Slide this boy forward. And so, for me, that's going to be all the decals I'm probably going to put on this little fella, because, well, we've only got so much time and I want to keep these videos watchable. Obviously, you can put decals on them till your heart's content. I mean, when this game came out, they gave us a whole sheet of decals. The problem is, most of it's just repeats of the same stuff over and over and over again. So, that's up to you. But I might put some of these little unit numbers on here, or, you know, whatever you feel like doing. But right now, this is what we're going to do. We're going to let this dry for a minute, and then I'm going to show you the next step when we put the microsaw on top of these after these dry for just a hair. Back in a minute. All right, so now that we've let this dry for a little bit and our decals have kind of laid down, we're going to do our second step here and do some microsaw over it. This isn't as necessary of a step, in my opinion, as the microset. That's why the microset is the number 1 in the series, and the microsaw is the number 2. It even says it in their directions here. Use microset first, and then it says use the microsaw. So, not as important, but I like to do this. So we just do a little bit of generous coat over top of these decals with the set. Boy, this thing's out of focus. There we go. Okay, and now we let that dry. And that's pretty much going to be it for the decals on this fella. Now our last step will be, once this microset is dry, we can matte coat the decals over top with some brush on matte coat. But what I'm going to do is we're going to finish up this whole thing with a matte varnish. So I'm just going to use a spray on matte varnish, and then I'll go back and do some gloss highlights on some parts I want to be shiny. But tune in next time for that video. So we'll be doing that and probably finishing up doing some cool details on the base. Thanks for watching another episode of Mediocre Painting with Wayne, and tune in next time. If you're looking for any of these products, I think most of them can be found on our Shopify web store at hardknocksgames.com. And keep working on stuff. Have a good day.